Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I am doing something with my MacBook Air 2008 original model, and I'm going to show you how to replace the thermal paste in one of these MacBooks. So let me just get my cleaning supplies out real quick. What I'm going to use today is some isopropyl alcohol, 70%. You can use any one, but I recommend 90%. And we have our Q-tips and a paper towel. But yeah, first of all, what you want to do is to type in your password. Well, if it's already on, you can just shut it down. So, after you shut down your MacBook, you can flip it over and get a Phillips screwdriver bit and start to unscrew these screws on the side of the MacBook. So, the light is still on. Oh, it just turned off. Alright. But what you want to do first is unscrew these screws on the bottom of the MacBook. Unscrew all the bottom screws. So you want to unscrew the 10 Phillips screws. Let me make sure I actually did it. Yes, 10 screws on the bottom. 3 more screws to go. I know I'm not getting the whole thing on camera, but you know where the screws are. And if you're wondering why the screws are a different color, I got some used screws off of eBay. And here's our MacBook Air bottom case. Can just brush that off with my anti-static brush and put that aside. Can unplug your battery and then unplug hard drive and ports cables to get easier access to the heatsink. So you want to unscrew this little piece of metal in the middle, put that aside. Then unscrew these 2 screws for the heatsink. Let me zoom in for you guys. So, yep. You want to unscrew these 4 screws and remove this plastic bracket right there. Screw these to the fan. You can unscrew the whole fan, but it's not as convenient as unscrewing the heatsink away from it itself. So you can just unscrew it. So now that all these screws are unscrewed, you can just lift up the heatsink and you can see all that crusty old thermal paste. So let's put the MacBook aside for a bit and focus on the heatsink. So what I want to do first is give it a little brush off. You can just use the alcohol to clean it off, but I'm using a brush for this. So now you want to just spray some isopropyl alcohol on it, and your paper towel if you want. Just wipe all of it away. You can also use a Q-tip for it too, but I'm using the paper towel for it. want to take away all the residue and wipe it off. And I'll write this thermal paste on that. You can get your Q-tip and wipe off the little small residue on the heatsink. So just wipe it off. So, sorry about that. So now that your heatsink is clean, you can get your MacBook and do the same thing with the opposite side of your Q-tip and clean it off. You can see all that thermal paste coming off. Use your paper towel to wipe the rest of it off. And then you can continue just cleaning off the dye a little bit. So now that this CPU is sparkling clean, you can just put a little more on the Q-tip and clean this part off and do the same process. You can now there's a fly in my room. Some thermal paste got on me. That's fine. So just doing one last run, making sure the dyes are clean. You can get your new thermal paste. I happen to have some spare thermal paste inside this, so I've used this one before. So got to get this cap off. Shouldn't be this hard. Maybe I'm just weak. So just trying to get this off. Oh, it's off. And now you can just put your spare thermal paste on, making sure you get plenty on the dye. Then get plenty on the other side. So now that you got your thermal paste on, you can put it back or throw it out. And there's your thermal paste. You can get your heat sink. Just need to wipe this off a little bit. You can see here, I'll wipe that off. I'm not sure if you even saw it, but there's thermal paste on it. So I'm just going to wipe that off real quick. And our heatsink is nice and clean now, so we can just very quickly dust off our fan. Dusty from all those years of use. So now that that's clean, you can put your heatsink back onto the computer, and you don't have to like spread it out or anything because it'll evenly spread out automatically. So now you want to start screwing in your screws. Let me zoom out a little bit. Screwing in the fan screws, connecting it to the heatsink. It's a little bit hard right now. So, screwing those in. Okay. Alright, so now that those fan screws are screwed in, you can just screw in the heatsink on these sides right here. Also want to put this plastic bracket on. Just get it on there. So you can just put that piece of metal on. I guess it just helps put pressure on the on the heatsink. I'm not sure what it does, but you can now connect the hard drive cable. Just make sure it's connected, and the ports, and then you're good to go. Make sure, yeah, this thing is not sticky anymore. I can just break that off. And now you want to connect your battery. And I recommend you flip it over and test out the machine before you put the cover on. But I'm going to put the cover on first. Screw in a couple screws and then test it. So got some thermal paste here. Just going to screw in one of the screws. Oops. Just going to screw these screws in. So let me just test this out. There's some thermal paste on here. I'm going to wipe off. It's good as new. Open the lid and test it out. And we have the light, so it's definitely working. So should be able. So there we go. The computer did turn on, and the lights is just something with my camera, not the computer. But can close the lid while it's booting up and just start screwing in the rest of the bottom case screws. And the specs of this one is a Core 2 Duo. I'm not sure how fast the Core 2 Duo is. It's like something, point something Core 2 Duo. 2 gigabytes of RAM and a 80 gigabyte hard disk drive, or you could say hard drive. It's incredibly small. It's actually iPod small. So yeah, not the best thing from Steve Jobs, but it definitely revolutionized how thin laptops could be. That's how you get the Retina MacBook Pro, the unibody ones. You know, the unibody ones are kind of thick nowadays, but back then it was incredibly thin. So the computer should have been booted up right now. And there we go. So now that is how you replace the thermal paste on your 2008 original MacBook Air. It will also work on the 2009 and late 2008 MacBook Airs. The 2010 ones are completely different, so that won't work for this video. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!